Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to explain to you how I use analytical memory and how I use logical thinking in order to remember to learn something very complex, something crazy. In order to have stable results, especially on stage when you perform in front of other people, we have to employ different types of memory. So learning pieces not with just fingers, but also using analytical, ear memory, visual memory, and all the possible types of memory in order to learn pieces really in a solid way. Because this is one of the most common problems of many students. For example, some students come to me to a lesson and say, oh, I was able to play this piece like perfectly just 1 hour ago, and here in front of you I make so many mistakes, and they are kind of angry, and I feel myself guilty that it's just because of me they are doing these mistakes. But the thing is that if you learn pieces mostly by fingers, just playing it until you kind of know it, how it goes mechanically, it's not really secure. So although motor memory is very, very important to us, we have to enforce it with other types of memory. And if you have something really difficult, like for example, here I learned a passage of from Szymanowski's Symphony No. 4 for solo piano and the orchestra. So it's more like a concerto, piano concerto for me. But it's called symphony for some reason. There's a passage that sounds actually quite weird, and at first when you see it, it just looks like a set of crazy dissonant chords. So I'll try to illustrate that, although I'm not sure I can. So there is some melody kind of, but there are so many dissonances, and you don't really understand what kind of chords are those, because those are kind of dissonant chords. I mean, what kind of chord is that? Maybe some jazzists would have a name for that chord, but I actually have no idea what kind of chord is that. For me, it's just cluster. So how do we learn that? Of course, I can just constantly repeating this passage until I know it by fingers. But then, again, when you get in a stressful environment, when you have to play it on stage suddenly, finger memory might fail you if you didn't enforce it with different types of memories. So in order to learn something like that, I would have to understand its logic. I would have to analyze this passage. And in this case, of course, I'd start with playing hands differently and trying to find some patterns, some similarities, something that I can really understand. Okay, how do I learn that? So again, starting with hands separately and trying to understand patterns. So for example, in the left hand, I would have fifths, parallel fifths. And in order to remember them better as a group, I'm going to use a fingering that would allow me to play all the three fifths within one hand position. So I would start with the third finger and play 3 3 1, 4 1, 5 1. So that's one group. And these notes, okay, how do I remember that? Oh, that's actually just, those are sounds of a D major scale. So playing this group, I'm going to think about D major scale. Okay, fine. And then I have sixth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 sixths, and they are also parallel. They are chromatic. So I'm going to use same fingering for one pair and another pair. So I'm breaking this group of 4 into pairs and finding similar fingering for this pair. And then I have fifths, also parallel fifths. So I'm going to use same fingering, 1, 4 to 5, and then I have a rotten or diminished fifths. It's like triton, it's called, and it's ugly, and it's easy to remember this interval because it's ugly. It sounds like sounds like you hate everyone. Yeah, so that's easy to remember. So that group is easy to remember. And then I have the whole set of this diminished or as I like to say, rotten fifths. And another group of them, and also chromatic. So I'm going to use same fingering, 1 4 to 5, 1 4 to 5, 1 4 to 5. Okay, so now I have understood what kind of groups I have here. I have fifths, parallel 6, then one pair of fifths with one rotten fifths, and then all diminished fifths, chromatic, chromatic. So now I have to memorize each group separately and give myself enough time to, when I will try to play that without the score, giving myself first enough of time in order to switch from one group to another. So the first group, I stop, give myself enough time to remember which group is the next one. Okay, that's clear. Pair, pair, then chromatic, and another chromatic. And next step would be learning that passage till the beginning of the next group, because the most difficult task is actually not to remember each particular group, but connect them fluently, because most of the problems happen not within the group or within the bar, but between structures, between groups or between bars. And this is exactly where students usually stop, because switching from one task to another is actually quite consuming process. So I'm going to learn that each group, finishing it at the first note of the next group, in order to remember really well where does it go after the group ends. Okay, so now I will try to play all that fluently through. Notice that I played that with closed eyes because I wanted also to train my visual memory while doing that. And for that, I close my eyes, and while trying to play that with eyes closed, I actively imagine those keys. I try to see them with my eyes closed, and that helps me to memorize music also visually. So after that, practicing like this, I am able to close the score, leave the instrument, and practice this passage just in my mind, without instrument and without the score. And that's a very helpful skill actually, because it makes you feel much more secure and learn things much faster and much in a more solid way. So right hand. So what kind of logic might be here? Oh, I need a mental break. Okay, I can do that. Now I feel refreshed. Okay, right hand. In order to remember this right hand, I have to analyze these patterns as well and find some logic in it. So what I see from the first glance is that I can unite two chords and play them within one hand position. For example, finding an appropriate fingering. So I'm using such fingering for these two chords, so I would cover both of these chords. And then another pair. That's another hand position. So it's reasonable actually to learn them just in clusters, just to remember those positions physically. But also I try to analyze what kind of chords I get. For example, here, if I would invert it, I would find out that it's just a normal diminished seventh chord. And then, okay, that's a weird one. I will remember it as a weird one. Sometimes it helps just giving a name to some chord and you remember it. Oh, that's something familiar. Let me think. It's a wrong tune, but actually that's a very typical Chopin chord that you might meet not only in this ballad number 1, but also in a number of other pieces. So okay, that one is my favorite. That I will remember for sure. And then of course a tricky moment of combining hands, and for that I'm going to play these groups in a shorter groups, finishing the group at the next strong beat. And and making sure that I understand and that I can play this group smoothly. And then as soon as I feel myself comfortable, I proceed to the next group and start from the second 16th until I feel comfortable with that. The most important thing, of course, is to choose a good fingering in the beginning and stick to it, because if you would change fingering all the time, you would confuse yourself. So it's very important to play with one comfortable fingering and not change it. Then, of course, there's always just a certain limit of information, certain limit of music that you can remember in one day, actually, because after a while you get tired and you might notice that you learn music less quickly. And at this point, it's not really reasonable to continue and pushing yourself. It's much more reasonable to give yourself a break or return to this piece tomorrow. Because actually, in order to learn something like that, we have to remember it within the long-term memory. And that's actually a very interesting topic because, for example, when you learn a piece and you spend, let's say, 15 minutes with it, you might remember it immediately, for example, especially if you are fresh, if you're not tired, when you have a good concentration, and you might be able to remember it and play right away. But then if you would make yourself a coffee, make a couple of phone calls, watch a couple of videos on YouTube, and then you return to piano and try to play the same spot again that you have just memorized this morning, most probably you won't be able to do that smoothly because you have memorized it only with your short time memory. So short time memory is when you remember a phone call just in order to call someone right now in a minute. But then in 5 minutes, in 15 minutes, it just fades away. This information just goes away. So in order to remember it like for a longer period of time, we have to transfer this information into a long-term memory capacity. And for that, we have to repeat this material a few times. And the most efficient thing is to sleep on it, basically. So learning that difficult spot today, 20 minutes, then leaving it till tomorrow, repeating all these steps. So basically tomorrow I will have to reproceed all these steps. I will have to repeat all these groups. I will have to repeat all these logical connections that I've built within this spot. But of course it will take much less time than today. And day after tomorrow I will still repeat all these basic steps and I will still practice it. And through the course of a few days I will remember this spot really deeply, so I would be able to remember it, to have it in my long-term memory. So this is how it works. So you don't have to expect yourself to remember something immediately and for the rest of your life. If you want to remember something really in a solid way, being able to play it in a week or in a month, you have to practice this many days in a row and give yourself an opportunity to sleep on it, because this is when we sleep, this is the time when the brain proceeds all this information. I hope that was helpful and gave you some ideas. This is actually a very interesting topic about how our brain works, about how we can optimize our learning process, considering this scientific data. Now I plan to develop some special tutorials or even special courses dedicated to the efficiency of learning, efficiency of memorizing, because that's a very important topic, and we have to find ways to spare time and to be able to learn more music in a shorter time. So please stay tuned and see you next time.